Welcome to Second 50 Insights. These are conversations with extraordinary people who are helping us thrive and plan and think more clearly for this future, where, as any of you who know me know, that I believe we're going to have a very much longer life, and a lot of us want to live a better life. So today I'm joined by David York. He is a very renowned, prestigious estate planning attorney, CPA, managing partner in his firm. And he's also the author of Entrusted and The Gift of Life, two books that have reshaped how I think about passing on wealth. So thank you so much for joining us here today, David.
Yeah, anytime. It's good to see you, Kathleen.
Yeah, it's really good to see you. And I'm thinking all the way back to when we first met at the Purposeful Planning Institute. I was just like in awe of all the things that you brought up in your lessons and in the speeches that you did there. So I'm grateful we stayed connected. I love your concepts, and I mean, many people, and I know that also they're thinking about living a longer life and really enjoying that life. Our lifestyles are bigger, but they also very much want to pass on wealth to their family. Do you see any changes in the estate planning world related to those two things?
Yeah, I think the old model was, I call the old philosophy the can model. Get all you can all you get, sit on the can till you kick the can, right? It's like
Yeah.
just go out, raise money, then sit on it, live below your means, then leave your kids some lump sum at death. And one of the things that I've noticed, and it's not just anecdotal, it is actually empirical, and that is that there's a shift in the view. The greatest giant generation, silent generation, whatever you want to call them, they tended to see inheritance as an obligation. They tended to live below their means to try to leave more funds. The boomers, Gen X, they tend to be much more thoughtful about it. They don't necessarily see inheritance as an obligation. They see their obligation was to raise their kids, help their kids with an education, get them started in life. But they also are concerned about the potential negative effects of inherited wealth. They're worried about, will this do more harm than good, or will this end up just being simply consumed or misused? And so I think on the positive side, people are thinking more about inheritance. They're thinking more about the impact that that would have, but they're doing it in a different vein than prior generations, and it's probably raising more questions about not just how do I leave an inheritance, but how do I leave it well?
100%. I'm seeing the same thing. I love your concept of giving, oh, you can explain it, but
Yeah,
giving flint and kindling, and how that supports what you're talking about here to
yeah.
help the younger generations and also help the parents.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems with traditional estate planning or traditional mindset is we're so asset focused. We focus on the assets and the transfer of those assets, and maybe that says, okay, well, that's intuitive. That's what estate planning is. But I think in that we spend so much time preparing wealth for the children, and we spend so little time preparing children for the wealth. And we build these 747s to hold and manage and transfer wealth, and we don't train pilots. And we have kids who are uninformed and unprepared for that. And the analogy I use in the book is it's if you think of the wealth that you've created as a fire that you're using to keep your family warm, to provide light, to provide safety and security, and comfort. And it becomes that time or stage in life where you start sending your family on down in the forest. You would not hand them a burning log for their journey. They burn themselves and they burn down the forest on their way. You would give them some flint and you'd give them some kindling. In other words, you'd give them the tools and the resources to build and accumulate their own wealth. And and part of the important thing, and I've learned this over the years, is that we value things based on what they cost us. When something doesn't cost us anything, we simply cannot value it like something that comes with cost. And inherited assets, by and large, are costless. And as a result, they just are not valued or appreciated. The average American inheritance is consumed in 18 months. What people earn over the course of their life is, on average, consumed in 18 months. Now that's the average American. Let's take higher net worth, upper middle class individuals. The average half life of inherited wealth is about 5 years. So even among higher net worth, highest net worth, the average consumption is about 8 to 10% per year. That's after return on investment. So you think, oh, I'm going to leave these assets and my kids are going to grow. No, the average reduction is 10% a year, even among highest net worth individuals. Um, that said, earned wealth is always wealth that's going to be higher value. So I think what we need to stop doing is trying to figure out how wealthy do I make my kids when I die? And instead, it should be, how do I help my kids become wealthy while I'm alive? And so, how do I support things like education, down payment assistance, home ownership, co investing? You can take much smaller amounts earlier in a child's life and use that in conjunction with their own time, their own talent, their own treasure to magnify that to create their own wealth. I mean, let's be honest, your whole point, which I totally agree with you, is that people are going to live longer lives. That just mathematically means their children are going to inherit at older ages. So, most people don't actually inherit from their children until they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I've had clients inherit from their parents at 70 because their parents lived to 90 or to 95. And I think it's just a false notion to say, well, I'm going to leave my kids an inheritance. By the time you've left that inheritance, one, you're hitting it at an age when these people are much older. But two, you're losing the time value of money. And if you just look at it, it's not about leaving your kids $3 million at death. It could be about giving them $100,000 strategically earlier in their lives that they can use to invest in getting into a home, starting a business, starting to invest, co-matching those opportunities, and let's use the time value of money on their side to build their own wealth because they'll value it more and they'll be ahead on that snowball. I mean, you help so many people on the financial side. The most powerful force is compound return, right? And it's time. And so flint and kindling are just simply little bits of resources provided with opportunity that comes together to allow kids to build their own. And so that's where I think, and it's also an opportunity for mentorship. We're just not mentoring the next generation. So much of that consumption is you just have kids who suddenly inherit large sums of funds and they aren't prepared because they didn't handle smaller sums. And so my clients that are most successful in wealth transfer are doing it on a much more incremental basis, much earlier in a child's life, and actually simply leveraging that child's work and effort and engagement to magnify and build their own wealth, as opposed to just leaving whatever I didn't spend at death to my kids.
That that speaks volumes. Is there anything that you want to tell us as we close that, or any idea, tool, or conversation people might have with each other or with their professionals, their estate and financial professionals?
Yeah, to me, I'm a firm believer that purpose should always drive the planning that you do, and planning should always support the purpose. So I think one of the best things I've seen, the clients that are most successful, they understand the why of their wealth, and they understand the who of their family, and they let the why and the who drive the what and the how. I'm all for tax efficiency. I'm all for investing and building and growing assets, but that's the how and that's the what. Um, the families that are most successful, they have an elevator speech for their family and their wealth. They can tell you why we have resources, and they can tell you what they are doing at the human level. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I think is we don't have a vision. One of the things I'll sometimes ask my clients is if your wealth transfer strategy, and I mean wealth in all its forms, human, financial, social, if your wealth transfer strategy from you to your children, if it were a business, would you invest in it? And I have a lot of clients who are entrepreneurs and like, no, I wouldn't invest in it. There's no clarity, there's no purpose, there's no plan, there's no it's hodgepodgey. And then I have to break it to them. Well, you're currently 100% invested in your current wealth transfer strategy. Like
Mhm.
you have all your money in it. But what would it take for you to invest in this? And so I think if you know where you want to go with your wealth and you know where you are today, then the journey becomes really easy. The problem is people don't have a vision for the wealth or the impact they want it to have on the next generation. They don't really know where they are today. And then we give them a whole slew of different options and strategies and techniques. That's the how. But I think if you get clarity on the why, understand the who, and then work to bridge those two together.
Perfect. The perfect way. And I think this would include if people don't have children, other family members or people that they care
Absolutely.
about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think we need to broaden our definition of family. I think
Mhm.
family includes coworkers or employees in businesses. I think it includes the communities. I think it includes our friends and our neighbors. And the most engaged, most productive, most grateful, happiest people I know are other centered. And that doesn't necessarily limit itself to family. But I think that's a huge element
Yeah.
of what do I want my wealth to be from an impact standpoint.
Perfect. I love ending there. And I'm hoping that people are listening. Thank you again, David. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed talking to you.
anytime.
We'll see you next time.